You have to sit here.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of TBD, your Colorado Springs Real Estate Podcast. I'm Rob Thompson. I'm here, associate broker here at the agency in Colorado Springs, and here with my colleagues.
I'm Laurie Ristig, also with the agency.
And Mike Mattice with Total Lending Concepts.
So you guys missed about 6 minutes of great conversation.
We sat and chatted, and it wasn't recording.
No, I misfired on the button. But today's topic is going to be first-time home buyers advice. But first, we have some market stats from Laurie.
Sure. So I'm comparing January, February, and up till today, and today is April 3rd, so it's got to have March and a couple days in April. Days on market in January, 13 days on market. February was 9, and today is 5. So they're flying off the shelves. Median sells in January. The sales price, $280. February it was $281.23, a little bit higher, and then today it's $290. It jumped $10,000. Average sales price was $315, $314, and then jumped up to $328. So we're looking at that spring boom, where prices. I don't know if it's just that prices are. How homes are being priced higher, or if it's because of the
overbidding.
The overbidding. So many people are bidding on the same homes, and so those prices are being driven up.
And checked in some regard by the appraisals too. We're seeing
Are you guys seeing a lot of that?
No, I wouldn't say a lot, but
I've seen a few.
And there's an interesting distinction there that someone pointed out to me. I was saying that the appraisals are checking prices, and somebody pointed out that no, the appraisals are checking the overbidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because somebody's willing to pay $15,000 above the price of the comparables doesn't make it worth that, right?
Valued at
so
that,
are the appraisers checking the market, or are they? Yeah, that was the distinction they were trying to draw. Are they checking the market, or are they coming in?
Sure.
Here it is. They were saying, are they coming in low, or are they coming in under the bid price? And to clarify this, the ones I know of, majority of them came in under the bid price, but
probably at listing,
at or above list slightly. So
active single family homes, we've got 1,284 total,
which is a significant uptick.
And of homes at 250 or less, we have 104.
Right, and the last time I think we met, we were at 860 total and like 71 or something like that.
So we have seen a slight
bump. A little bit of an increase.
Yeah,
spring listings. Whew. We need more though.
We do, but we've seen a 22% increase in the value of homes. So
right.
As soon as they come on, they sell, and then they're gone,
yep.
And then they'll never be quote never be 250 again or below, right? If a home sells for 240, it has to resell for 7 to 10%.
Well,
more.
I was pulling comps on a house this morning actually in Old Colorado City, and the owners purchased this home in 2014 for $70,000, and the comps I was pulling was 210. Wow. So they have over $100,000 in equity.
Wow.
In 4 years, not even 4 years. That is crazy pants.
Yeah.
So I was saying earlier too, I don't see this as sustainable. Wages haven't kept pace nearly, less than 1% increase in the growth of wages over the last several years, but a 22% increase in the sell price of homes on average. I feel like something's got to give.
Yeah.
But we've been saying that.
Yeah, we have been for
a while.
So you think, Mike? You said supply and demand. You think it's just,
I think it's just economics.
Yeah.
If we don't have enough homes. We have an influx of buyers, and we have a declining. Actually, this week we have a little bit of an increase, but we don't have any inventory. Houses are on the market for 5 days.
Sure.
At some point, though, I think that there's going to be like a gestalt kind of wave that says, okay, Colorado, we can't go any higher.
Prices can only go so high until nobody can afford to purchase a home. And so it's got to give somewhere. And we were just saying before, when we were so rudely not recording,
my bad.
Thanks, Rob. Was that either wages are going to have to go up to meet, and I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. Not significant.
The inflated prices of homes are either going to have to slow down and come to a grinding halt, or are going to have to deflate a little and go back to reality, or else we're going to see a pop. But then we were also saying,
Yeah.
what would cause that pop? What would make it happen?
It has to be, and you've spoken to this before, Rob. It has to be an outside influence. I don't know
Sure.
that it's going to be something local that causes change. I don't think it's going to.
No, something on the macro level.
Yeah.
China, for example, just slapped tariffs on.
Yeah, but that's just
but systemically,
that's just a
right?
tweeter trying to figure out a way to come to the negotiating table with China. I think.
To me, though, it speaks to a larger there is a shift. There's a global shift happening. You know, the post World War II economy was built on a certain set of circumstances and a certain set of skills. That is changing. I mean, China is not. You know, the United States no longer enjoys the hegemony that it has historically commanded,
Right.
and so there will be. And I'm not even saying this is a bad thing. You know, like if we go back to local production of there's a sausage factory in Palmer Lake, right? So if they became the source for Colorado Springs for sausage, that'd be great, you know, for that company and for local, right? But
Sure.
but it would increase the prices, and so all I'm saying is that there's a shift happening, and that shift has to manifest in some way, and that at the macro level will then filter down to the micro level of houses. Yeah.
Ideally, what we all want to see is it to just kind of slow way down and let wages slowly catch up before
Again, I don't know.
before anything bad happens.
I keep going back to classic economics,
Yeah,
supply and demand.
And
I mean,
you know,
if all of a sudden we had a big influx of inventory in Colorado Springs, then I think you'd see a huge halt in
Sure.
escalation in
Yes,
prices,
agreed.
and even at that point, maybe even a decrease in prices, potentially.
Well,
But right now, we have 1,284 homes on the market. That's not going to happen.
well, and then also to that point, there is no way that we're going to see $1,250,000 homes be built. We don't the space, the infrastructure. That's all years down the road. Even if someone did come in and build that.
Well, we have space, but it's out east.
Well, yeah,
right,
and
yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in Phoenix, and the Phoenix that I grew up in is not what Phoenix looks like now. It is enormous because they just grew out into the open space, and I feel now that I'm here, and people are saying there's no room to build. I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you look out east?
Have you looked out towards Kansas
As
lately?
a Phoenician, all I have to do is go look at all this empty space. Well, there's nothing there. There's no schools. There's no shopping centers. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
But I also, I'm not saying, but that's true. Vegas is a good example.
Sure.
It built out
that
like
urban
that.
sprawl.
We just negotiated water from Pueblo, so
Yeah.
it's not like we're going to have a water shortage. We have
Kind
I
of
think
you mentioned
the
this
infrastructure,
before.
so to speak.
Infrastructure is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. Water and power, I feel like.
well,
If supply and demand is the baseline, Mike, then this all just might be spinning around that baseline, or just in the end, economics rules, supply and demand, and
yeah.
as long as the demand keeps up.
It'd be great if someone decided to start building spec houses, cookie cutter homes, instead of custom.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
but I was talking to a builder about that, and he said, because I was lamenting that, what if you built $250,000 homes? He said we could, but that'd be dumb. He said, he said from his perspective, he said consider this: what if you list a $250,000 home? What's going to happen? Also, we'll go under contract in an hour, if not less, right? He said right, but then somebody will buy that house on spec, turn around, and sell it to the guy behind them for the profit, the profit that I would have made as the builder. So
Sure.
why
That's
would
an
I do
excellent
that?
point.
If
Again,
I can,
here we go,
said,
right back
if
to-
I can build it for $275,000 or $400,000, I'm gonna do that. That's a great point, right? Supply and demand.
Yeah. Doesn't take that much more property space to build a bigger home.
No, it doesn't. And as long as the demand is there, then it will sell.
Well, we could chat about this all day.
We sure
It's
could.
our favorite topic.
Yeah.
But
First-time home buyers.
How about them?
Advice.
how
Laurie,
about those first-time homebuyers?
Yeah. What do you got, Laurie?
So we received a message on one of our many Facebook pages where someone said, well, I just got pre-approved for a loan and I'm a first-time home buyer and I don't even know what to expect. Lay it on me, and just kind of let people give them advice and tell them what they should see next. And I was like, where's your realtor? Because they should be telling you these things.
It's also crowdsourcing the question. Is a
Sure.
good thing, too.
Maybe it's possible they already covered it with them, and they were like, "What did I miss? Is this person missing anything?" Sure. So the things you should expect. Let's talk about money first, yeah?
Let's talk about money.
Let's talk about money.
Let's talk about that.
There are two for sure things, especially if you have financing, that you should expect to have to pay for before you close. The first is your inspection and any add-ons to that inspection.
Correct.
So this is making sure the foundation is sound, making sure that there aren't vermin crawling through the house, making sure that your oven works properly and your microwave works, and all these things that you didn't turn on, and that your furnace is good, etc., etc.
Right.
You need to pay for that inspection so that you know if there are any big ticket items that you're going to have to be on the hook for
And
once you close.
What does that cost on average?
It depends on your inspector. Some of them say we're the gold standard and we charge $700, and some of them say we're pretty good too and we charge $400. It depends on the inspector. So I'd say shop around and look at reviews. And then there are add-ons as well. So let's say you want to get the sewer line scope, which Rob and I always recommend.
Especially in old Colorado
because
City.
that is a very expensive fix that you will not see and a regular inspector will not catch. They have to put a camera down there to see if the sewer lines are messed up. And
I just had a client a couple months ago that scoped it and found that it was broken, and the seller did have to spend $10,000 to fix it.
It is expensive.
Yeah.
On my house, our sewer line is under our driveway. So if on my house that I bought, if there had been a sewer problem, they would have had to jackhammer up the driveway to fix it. So it's not cheap.
No.
So doing a sewer scope costs, what would you say, $150?
Yeah, about
give or
125,
take, depending on
150,
$125, $150, depending on who you're using to do that scope, and it is money well spent. It will give you that peace of mind. Do it.
I've actually been considering just adding to my pitch, if you will. I'm just going to pay for your sewer scope.
Yeah,
it's that important.
For your buyers.
It
for
is.
my buyers. Yeah.
I mean, it's our job to make sure that they're getting the best deal that they can get, and that they aren't
They're not going to be hit with
with a huge bill that they weren't expecting. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So, I mean, yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there then.
Go ahead.
If you're buying in 2018, and you use me as your agent, I will pay for your sewer scope.
Wow, now it's on record.
Yeah, now it's on record.
It's on record.
Appraisal.
Yep.
You wanna talk about
Appraisals
appraisals?
for FHA conventional, they are $600, and for a VA loan they are $750. And those are the only costs as far as my side of the table on the lending side that you have to prepay for. Everything else is wrapped into the loan.
So, are there ever cases where you can wrap the appraisal into the loan, or is it always something you have to pay up front?
At Total Lending Concepts, where I work, it's always something you have to pay up front. We used to wrap it up in the loan, and then deals fall apart, and then the consumer walks away, and we end up...
You're stuck with a $750 bill.
Correct.
So, $400 to $700 for your inspection, another $700-ish for your appraisal. Right. So you need to have that money on hand and ready to go, because that's cash you need to pay before you close.
Don't forget the one thing that a lot of people don't think about, which is the earnest money. You have to have that in the bank as well.
Of course.
Right.
Well, if you're under contract, you already...
but you have to have that in the bank before you go out.
Oh, yes, looking. Of course. Before you
Right.
go looking, you need to make sure that you've got money on hand that you can put down for your earnest money. All right.
Okay. Mike, do you have any tips?
I have a lot of tips.
Okay.
So get pre-approved, not pre-qualified. The differences being that pre-approved means the underwriter has actually reviewed your file, reviewed your income, reviewed your assets, reviewed your credit, and said you are good to go buy a home. So then you get in the car with Rob or Laurie here, and you go out and find your home. And your approval is good for about 90 days. That's,
yeah. So how I usually explain it is pre-qualification is, hey, I've talked to a lender. They, based on my verbals, essentially, then they've pre-qualified me. Pre-approved is they've validated the data.
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
Now, there's a whole bunch of things you shouldn't do once you get pre-approved. Your approval, again, is good for about 90 days. When we look at you as far as the approval process, it's a snapshot in time. So when that approval is issued on day one, we're looking at you and saying, hey, today you are approved to go purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
So do not go out and apply for credit. Don't move money from one account to another. It's just going to complicate the process. Don't deposit cash funds from the shoebox into your bank account. Don't buy a new car. Don't change anything about your credit profile. It will upset your approval.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your house because you decided to buy a couch.
Right. And it's happened.
You'll
We've
now
all
have
seen
no house to put the couch in.
Right. Another thing you don't want to do is quit your job prior to buying the home. Some things that could upset it as well is changing jobs. However, there are circumstances where that's okay. If you're a nurse and you go to another hospital and you're a nurse, that shouldn't be an issue. But if you're a nurse and then you go into, say, a sales position where it's commission only, that will definitely affect your loan.
Okay, so we've covered money, what money you need to have and what to not do in terms of losing your loan. But now let's talk about what you should actually expect. So now it's time, you're pre-approved, it's time to go look at houses. Depending on your budget, if you are 300 or below, I'd say, expect to make a few offers on a few houses. And expect to put in competitive offers. If you think you're going to go and say, I'm going to lowball them, I saw on HGTV from this episode from 5 years ago,
Right.
where they went in and they were going to flip this house and they got the house for $20,000 less than asking. In today's market, unless that house is highly overpriced, it's not going to happen.
Most likely not, right?
No.
It's an interesting point when folks talk about that. For me, like, well, I wouldn't say the house is $240, and they say I wouldn't pay more than $220, so that's the offer I want to submit. Okay, you're the boss.
Yeah,
right?
we'll submit that.
But I
offer.
do candidly tell them practically, expect that this house is going to go under contract for $15,000-$20,000 above list price.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll have some people sometimes get a little bit upset. They'll be like, well,
They have to be rejected a few times before they understand it.
Yes,
Well,
they'll have to put a few offers in before they go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
speaking on experience that I now have, and now moving forward, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I do maintain that there are outliers. Sometimes the seller might do that.
It's true.
But you got to be, like you said,
I don't think
prepared
that's
for it.
normal
Be prepared.
anymore.
No, it's not normal
it is
anymore.
not
That would
normal.
be the extreme exception.
And
to the rule.
I have seen homes where I'm like, this is overpriced. It just is overpriced. So
But
if
with
you,
inventory so low, it
Right.
still sells.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's good. The other, speaking of numbers, I would run the numbers.
Yes.
Mike has a mortgage calculator. What's your website, Mike?
MikeMattice.com.
Okay, his mortgage calculator there. So go and run the numbers, plug in the actual taxes
and see
and
what
the estimated
your
insurance.
monthly
Right.
payment will be on that house.
And do that while you're standing in the house or before you go see it.
Yep.
Or give me a call if I'm sitting at my desk. Happy to run the numbers for you.
Yeah, that way you're making an educated offer
Yep.
on what you're doing, right? And that $10,000 can make a $30 to $50 a month
Yep.
mortgage payment difference. So you might want to be looking $10,000 below your ultimate budget in this market.
Yeah. So paperwork wise, if you have a realtor, and you really should, they're going to be keeping track of that. They're going to make sure that you are aware of any and all contracts, non-contracts, paperwork, things you need to sign, things that you need to get back and forth, communication you need to make. They should kind of be your point person for all of that. So it should be up to you to have to worry about those things. That's what your agent, that's literally their job, is to do all that stuff, and they'll help you with it.
And make sure it's done right.
And make sure it's done right. And one thing that you will want to look at, though, when you do your offer, is all the dates and deadlines. And a lot of times you'll get, the agent will write up your contract, and I've had people go, I trust you, and they sign it, and I'm going, you didn't even look. Can you at least look at these dates and deadlines? So what I do is, whether they read it or not, every single time, as soon as I'm under contract on a house, they need to know the deadline for when that inspection needs to be done. They need to know the deadline for when that appraisal needs to be done. I'm going to be on top of those dates, but they should be aware of them as well, because those are deal breakers. If you don't get those things in time to the seller, they can say, okay, bye, we're not selling it to you.
Right. And potentially
We're
reverse
out,
money.
terminated. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
You need to protect your earnest money. So I would say look at those dates and deadlines, and if you don't understand what any of them are, ask your realtor.
Any other tips, Mike?
No, I think we've covered a lot of the bases. So.
The one I'd wrap up my part with here is my advice is to approach real estate from an investment mindset.
Yes.
Ask yourself,
Right.
run the numbers, as I mentioned. I would share a piece of advice that I got from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad years ago. I can't remember much of it. But one thing that did stick out with me as a nugget is that a house is not an investment; it's a liability unless it's paying you. Purchase a property.
It's a significant amount of debt.
It is, then if you're buying you got to look at that $1,400 a month you're outlaying is not an investment, and even if you mapped it out, it's not. It doesn't generate a return on investment until you sell, and only if you make money,
Right.
or you rent it out and it cash flows. What that did for me was change the way I looked at houses. Walking into houses, I just right out the gate, I took off the.
Can't I rent this for at least what I'm paying?
Yep. When I walk into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house now, 1,200 square feet, first thing I think of is, okay, this is going to rent for $1,300 to $1,400. I run the numbers
What's
on my mortgage.
payment?
There you go. Doesn't make sense, and then from
Break
that,
even at least.
break even at least, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're breaking even, then at least you're building equity with each
Right.
mortgage payment, right? So
Someone's paying you to build equity.
Yeah, and so there's a literal return on your investment, right?
Correct.
So
Ultimately.
The operative question that I now ask my people to ask for themselves too is this: is it reasonable to expect that this house will resell for 7 to 10% more than the purchase price in the time I intend to hold the home? And if the answer to that question is no, then you ask yourself the following question, or ask it anyway. If not, am I prepared to be a landlord? If I'm prepared to be a landlord, does the house cash flow? Where cash flow is defined as the mortgage payment plus 10% for property management, because you want to budget for that even if you're going to manage it yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Because that might change. And also you want to pay yourself. But and also include maintenance of approximately 10% per month on that as well. So cash flow is defined as, for me, mortgage plus 20% optimally. Now that said, that's a pie in the sky kind of number, particularly like in a market like ours where you might not get those numbers. But at least that
Get as
will
close
help
as
you
you can.
map out any shortfalls. Then you ask yourself the question: okay, I have a $89 a month shortfall. Is that okay? Yeah.
Can I afford that?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
afford it. Theoretically, you can afford that, particularly because you're building maybe $250, $300 worth of equity each month too. So you got to map all that out. But run the numbers, approach it with an investment mindset is my stance on that.
Right. Because in this market, as we've discussed earlier, we don't know when the correction is coming, but we know it's coming at some point.
That I would say that too. Somebody mentioned foreclosures in the beginning too. One thing I would say is we might see some foreclosures and short sales here soon because as interest rates tick up,
Right.
there are folks who have bought homes that will not resell for the amount that they need to do the resell, and they may not rent either for the rent that they need. So they're going to end up short selling or foreclosing, or renting it at a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they ever have a month where they don't have a renter, they could end up in trouble.
In big trouble. That snowballs real fast.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other tips? Okay. Mike, what are interest rates going to do?
Well, let me ask the 8 ball. Will interest rates be going down? Let's see. Hold on, sorry. Oh, yes.
Oh,
We have a positive for once.
Oh, magic 8 ball.
I'm going to go on the record and disagree with the 8 ball.
8 ball's never been wrong before, so I don't know.
Look, disclaimer: do not act upon the 8 ball's advice.
It is a piece of plastic with the
yes.
number 8 on it, and it's not very unscientific. Yes.
Fair enough. Any website or book recommendations? Anybody read anything?
Not this week, no.
Okay.
I mean, I went and saw Ready Player One, and that was pretty great. I came back raving to you about it.
Oh yeah.
So
Ready
I would
Player
say
One.
I went with 2 friends who have read the book and they were very disappointed. So my advice to you is this: if you haven't read the book, don't read the book yet. Watch the movie first so you can actually enjoy it. It was real good. I liked it.
My recommendation is the podcast The One Thing this week. That's what I would suggest you listen to, the most recent episode of The One Thing. He asks,
Already looking it up.
right on. The author of the podcast asks a series of questions that really helps you drill down on your one thing. And
There was a movie where
Wait,
they-
in what way? What do you mean?
He just asks a series of questions like, what motivates you, where's your passion lie, and those kind of types of questions that help you drill down and eliminate
Like what's
the fluff.
important?
Yep.
to your life, basically.
Yep, and then there's a
in the
follow-on
grand
question
scheme
that
of things.
if I wish I could articulate, I need to re-listen to the podcast. But it essentially was, what are you doing, man, on a daily basis to advance
To achieve that.
one thing?
Oh, okay.
Right? And if you're not doing that, then you're not making forward progress on your one thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and so
Nice.
it's just
Sounds
kind of
good.
a mantra.
What movie was that?
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. There was a movie where that was a quote that was used in.
Was it? It wasn't 10 Things I Hate About You, right?
Thanks, Rob. I'm gonna go home and
No,
cry.
no,
now.
Oh, man, I
no.
love that movie.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. That wasn't a jab
I
at
know.
you. Okay. Yeah,
I know.
fair
I'm aware.
enough. All right. Okay. Any reattacks? Anybody?
Any what?
Sorry, military term. Air Force anyway. Any last,
Yes, I would like to bomb.
yeah.
Oh, like
Any-
what last words
any
going?
last- yeah.
I would say let your dates and deadlines guide you.
Okay.
I would say get pre-approved, obviously for my own benefit, but more importantly, make sure that you listen to your realtor and bid appropriately on the home that you want to buy.
All right.
It's very competitive out there, people.
There you have it. If you're looking
Yeah.
for a mortgage, give Mike a call. You're looking for houses, give Laurie a call. How do they get a hold of you two?
You can find me on Facebook. LaurieRistig is my name on Facebook.
And you can find me at MikeMattice.com.
There it is.
I have one of those too.
Is it-
LaurieRistigRealtor.com.
Was LaurieRistig.com taken?
No, I have that one too.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Yourname.com.
RobThompson.com is a magician in Vegas.
Oh no.
I've emailed him a couple times.
Yeah, no
asking
one's
him to
named
sell-
Ristig. I'm totally
yeah,
lucked
you're
out.
lucky, yeah. So mine's RobThompsonRealtor.com because, the magician, he's got those locked down for 10 years.
I
or
can
so.
make him disappear if you want.
Ooh, no, that's okay. I'm good.
Oh
Thanks.
man, magician jokes.
Y'all have a good day.
Bye.